he's a real runner. Playing him last year, I thought he was one of the best backs we saw. His quickness, his power he plays with, his intelligence on third downs. He's a three-down back, so that makes it difficult. This guy, one-on-one, he was a tough tackle for us. So I'm happy he's a Bronco.
Vance, with Jahdae, just what did you like about him as he went through the pre-draft process, and how exciting is it to get a first-round guy?
I think when you watch his game in college, you see a very intelligent player. You see a guy who played multiple positions in college, corner, he played some safety, he played some nickel. He's a very mature, smart football player. My cousin actually coached him for 3 years in college, so I watched him play for a long time. His ball skills, his combine workout, the entire process was really buttoned up. So he was a can't miss prospect for us.
When you have a resource like your cousin who's worked hands-on,
Sure.
What sort of added level of insight does that give you?
Well, it gives you insight on the person, first of all. Obviously with these young guys you're drafting, the person sometimes kills the player, but I knew he was a good person, right? He was a very mature, intelligent person, and that was one of the things that we loved about the player. And you watch the tape, and he's a football player. He can tackle, he can cover, he had ball skills. So it wasn't a bunch of negative points, to his game. So you couldn't find a bunch of bad stuff on his game. So for us, it was a no-brainer. He's sitting on the board. He's the highest, guy on the board. So it was a no-brainer for us to draft him.
How excited are you to add Greenlaw and Hafang? Obviously, Dre was limited here, but to have them, y'all get rolling.
Yeah, it's always great to add Pro Bowl type of players. And I think both guys bring a attitude of being on great defenses. That's important also. Our defense is still pretty young, as a whole. So both guys bring experience of being in big games, right? And being on dominant defenses. And that's an attitude, and that's practice, that's meetings, that's every day. And you see it with those guys. Those guys love football, So to add those kind of guys to our mix, man, has been tremendous for us, and we're looking forward to the fall.
Chemistry-wise, how long does it take when there's new guys that come in, even with veterans that really done it, to really kind of gel as a team like that?
It depends. It depends on obviously the system, and for me, it's always players first and system second. So, I'm going to do what those guys do best. So that won't be a problem as far as those guys playing fast and knowing what to do. I think in this NFL, with the 17-game season, right, being your best in the first month is not always important, right? It's just constantly improving. Each week is important. So it won't be perfect early with those guys, but as we play more games and move through the season, it'll get better and better, the chemistry.
When you're told you have a great defense, but yet one of the better defenses in the league, how do you process that of knowing you have a great, and you're known right now around the league right now?
I think what you said, have a great defense. We had a great defense, right? And that was last year, and this year is totally different. And my entire sell this offseason has been, let's start over again, right? Let's keep improving, because last year counts, but it doesn't matter, moving forward, right? We have to continue to improve. We added some more pieces. We watched our cut-ups from the fall. We wasn't perfect in every area. Third downs, we got to get better. So it's lots of room for improvement, and every year it's different. We have a tough schedule, so I'm patiently waiting for the fall and just focusing on improving every week. And if it's right, we should be a good defense, but it's no guarantee, right? You have to go to work.
Vance said yesterday that he thought Nick Benito was playing a lot of snaps. Last year you have to be careful of the snap count. What's kind of in consideration there, and what are you looking for from him to kind of take another leap this year?
Well, Nick had a great year, obviously. Nick wasn't a starter, guys, until like week 3 or 4 last year. Obviously, you're always conscious of guys playing too many snaps. It's a long season. You want guys to be healthy, especially up front, right? It takes energy to rush the passer like we do, so having a rotation for those guys is going to be important. But I'm looking forward to Nick making another jump, right? Nick's made, with me, from his first to his second year, he made a huge jump. And now he's going to his third year with me. It's going to be another huge jump. Nick's humble. Nick's a worker, man. If you ask Nick, is he a great player yet, he would tell you no. And that's what I want from young players. He knows there's a lot more in there that he can give us as a rusher. So he's working every day, man. He's humbled, and he's looking forward to playing in the fall.
When you have so much continuity defensively,
do
you have to spend some of the offseason thinking about the ways that offenses will try to combat the way that you played last year, or do you just start from the
No, that's the off season, guys. You know, we watch every clip from last year, and once you watch it all, you get a clear idea of how they attacked you, right? And it was obvious for I won't share that, but it was obvious for how teams attacked us, and you have to go to work to kind of prevent some of that stuff, and that's what you do in the off season. That's every year. Every year you have to change and adjust because teams see you differently. Our players have grown, you know, to being different type of players, so the respect level for Patrick has gone up. You know, so how we adjust off that's going to be huge. But every offseason, we watch every clip, and we find out how teams are attacking us and what we didn't do well, and just do those things better. So that's part of the growth and improvement I'm talking about.
Vance, Dondre Tillman obviously had kind of a unique path to getting here. But what impressed you most about the way he came in after having already played the spring football season and then joined you guys?
Well, he's a finisher, you know, and when you're a rotational guy as a rusher, man, you got to be a finisher. You know, I mean, he had, I think, 5 or 6 sacks, but if he got to the point of attack, he made the play, and that was a special trait that he gave us. He also gave us size on the edge. You know, we're not huge on the edge, but I mean, he's one of the guys who's 260 plus, right? That gave us size on the edge. So run game wise, even in the Buffalo playoff game, man, he was knocking guys around. So he had a great year. He played a bunch of football from the UFL to, you know, playing with us the whole year. But the guy's a finisher, and he's a big man to give us size on the edge.
VJ, you talked about JK at the beginning there. Can defensive guys bring a unique perspective when you guys are discussing players? Because to play against them, it's a lot different than just seeing them on film.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it comes from our players. I mean, our players thought after the game that he was a tough tackle in space, just so quick and so explosive. You know, not very tall, so he hides behind the line, and when it opens, man, he's through the hole. So absolutely, from the coaches and the players' perspective, you always kind of share. You know, if you're going to sign a veteran player, you know what you like playing against, and he was trouble for us. So again, I'm happy he's a Bronco.
Final one.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, well, how you doing?
I'm good, brother.
Rufunga, when he met with us, talked about how Palomalu was a good mentor for him when he was a pup.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not asking you to say how he is. He's Troy, but you're old enough to remember Troy.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
What, if any, influence do you see that Troy might have had on
Well, I see the play style. I mean, this guy is a sideline runner, hitter. I mean, he's a great blitzer. I mean, he's always around the football. And that was Troy. You know, Troy was kind of a wild card from time to time. But this guy is super smart. He plays hard. So I can see the same kind of play style in Huff than you saw in Troy, you know, for all those years.
The people that played with Troy said maybe the first thing you have to do is watch what Troy's doing because you don't know when he might freelance and you have to maybe cover from it. Is Rufunga that way or not?
Well,
is he more system oriented?
It's my job to do what players do well. You know, so I know what he is as a player. I mean, he's a guy with great instincts. I mean, he's going to chase and tackle the football for us. So I won't give him jobs where he's too tied up with nonsense, right? I want him to find the ball and do what he does best, and that's what I'm talking about with scheme first, right? Players first and scheme second, right? So we're going to adjust our system to our better players, Hufanga and Dre. So I won't tie guys down with scheme versus making them, you know, half the player that, you know, we saw on tape. That's my job.